And welcome to America Talks Live. I'm Bill Tucker filling in for Steve Malzberg, who has the day off today. The number to call, because we want your participation on the show, is 877-NEWSMAX. In numerical terms, that is 877-639-7629. But first, before we welcome in our guest of the day, let's send it down to my Newsmax TV colleague, Ed Berliner, who has the latest news headlines. Ed.
Thank you, Bill. Another savage attack on cops in America. 2 are dead in Iowa. The attacks were ambush style, within 20 minutes of each other and less than 2 miles apart, leaving officials to note the targeting of cops.
Gunned down, sitting in their car, doing nothing wrong. So there's definitely some danger out there. There's somebody out there shooting police officers.
46-year-old local resident Scott Michael Green has been arrested as their prime suspect. Why did FBI Director James Comey bring Hillary Clinton into a new email investigation?
Sources tell me that a week or so, well, actually a few weeks ago, almost 100 agents were threatening Comey that they were going to resign. And that kind of pressure is what turned him around.
The decision was against Department of Justice urging and has indeed tightened the presidential polls. Here's the evidence. A week ago, Clinton enjoyed comfortable leads. 6 days to go, dead heat. But the most talked about tie right now, the World Series, 3-all after the Chicago Cubs bats woke up last night in Cleveland. Game 7 tonight, 4-all. Indians haven't tasted a title in 68 years, 108 years for the Cubbies. For matters of news import, get it all at Newsmax.com. Bill, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Ed. Appreciate it. And remember, join me tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern for a Newsmax TV special. I went out to Yorba Linda, California, and I took a tour of the newly renovated Nixon Library and Museum with Ben Stein. And so tonight, Ben Stein presents the Nixon Library. Will debut at 9 o'clock tonight. It was a terrific experience, I might add. Ben, as many of you probably know, and some don't, Ben was the speechwriter to Nixon. His father served as head of the Council of Economic Advisors. And Ben went through the exhibits which had not been shown to the public and which he had not seen yet, and gave us his reactions. And I think you're going to see a very interesting and different side of Nixon tonight, a more complicated, nuanced picture instead of the tricky dicky that history has tried to give us so far. All right, join me today on our political panel. Noah Rothman, assistant online editor for Commentary Magazine, and Brent Budowsky, writer for The Hill and former aide to Senator Lloyd Bentsen. And gentlemen, we saw what Ed just reported, so let's start right there with the latest polls. A new LA Times poll, Trump is in a near 6-point lead against Hillary. A new USA Today WRAL survey has him 7 points ahead in North Carolina. The national polls, as we just saw, have everybody tied up in a dead heat. So, where do we go here first? Let's go to what may be the panicked Democrats, as Noah has called them today. Brent, you want to weigh in first? Are the Democratic side of this panicked a little bit?
Yeah, I don't want to panic anybody in our audience, but Democrats aren't panicking. And I gravely doubt, by the way, that it was 100 FBI agents threatened to resign. I have a hunch that's a pretty exaggerated number. There's no question about it. The polls have tightened. The way I view the totality of polls is that Hillary is still ahead, but not by nearly as much as she was. I think most of the sites that analyze all the poll data in a computer still say the probability she will win is somewhere in the 65–75% range. I'm not sure I agree with that or not, but there's no panic. This is what happens in presidential campaigns. It tightens up towards the end. Trump definitely got a break, from James Comey. People can go to The Hill, by the way, and read the column I wrote. That one is actually on Saturday about James Comey's double standard against Hillary Clinton. And I think that's going to be an issue as much as what they did.
You're going to tempt me to get off topic a little too quick. I want to let Noah answer the question first. But we're going to go at it. I guarantee you that.
That's never happened
before.
So
Noah, you wrote a column about the Democrats look like they might be a little panicked. Do you agree or disagree with Brent that we've got a little bit of concern going on the Democratic side when we didn't before?
I'm kind of halfway. I think Brent is right. Hillary Clinton is in the lead. Hillary Clinton is in the pole position. Polls suggest that there is tightening, but not enough to suggest that Donald Trump could win this election. And that's where I think Democrats are largely not panicking. Their response to James Comey, however, was self-immolation. It was absolutely insane. They went about saying that James Comey, in the middle of this investigation, has to lay out all his evidence on the table, which they know he would never fulfill. Harry Reid claimed outright that he had broken the law and that he was working on behalf of the Republican Party. The New York Daily News called him a mad bomber. They called on him immediately to resign. And this isn't necessarily a Democratic reaction, but a pro-Hillary reaction. A lot of Republicans who are supporting Hillary overtly have the exact same response. And they did so because they knew it would hurt her. A lot of Democrats convinced themselves that nobody cares about this email thing. It's not a big deal. It's all been baked into the cake. It has, and that's why Hillary Clinton is in such a precarious position. People no longer trust her. But when this erupted again, it immediately took a toll on her support in the polls, and it's created near parity, at least in these tracking polls, which differ a lot from state-level polls. But it's a real serious issue for Hillary Clinton, and the Democratic reaction betrayed how serious it really was.
Yeah, well, former DNC head Brent, Ed Rendell is saying the Democrats are making a mistake in attacking Comey. I'm laughing about all of this because back in July, you would have thought that he was due to be, pronounced Saint James Comey, not by the Republican Party, but by the likes of Harry Reid, who just declared him impeccably, unbelievably a man of integrity. Nancy Pelosi, the same thing. Now he turned around, he writes a letter to Jason Chaffetz, and he says, look, I found a bunch of emails that might be pertinent to this thing. I'm advising you that we are looking into these emails. And suddenly he is the most corrupt, horrible, filthy human being in the eyes of Democrats that anybody's ever laid their eyes on. He, I suggest, is neither one nor the other unless you're just politically partisan. But Brett, why? What was wrong, in your opinion, with what the director did?
Well, first of all, I think the word my friend just used, is concern, is a good word. Democrats are concerned. That is true.
Yeah.
Nowhere near panicked. Number two, I did not use that language about Comey. I didn't say he broke any laws, et cetera. And so, I take no responsibility for what others say.
We don't want to give you that responsibility.
The reason that Democrats are unhappy, which I wrote pretty early in the game on Saturday, is that I cannot remember a time in history when any FBI director ever dropped something a week to 10 days before the election like this. He did not know what he was talking about what was in the emails at the time. He didn't even know how many Clinton-related emails there were in question.
Still doesn't, by the way.
It's unprecedented. It violates every rule that the Justice Department and the FBI have long held about never getting that involved in a presidential campaign. So I think it will also have the effect, by the way, of energizing the Democratic base and increased turnout on the Democratic side, while it will also have the effect of mobilizing the Trump base at the same time.
No, are you in agreement with Brent on this?
Yeah, look, James Comey played the only hand he had been dealt. He was informed that this investigation had discovered some emails on a server related to an investigation into Anthony Weiner's sexting of an underage girl, allegedly. And that occurred 24 days ago, and his agents had not secured a warrant in order to review those emails. Right. He was handed this and said, look, I'm not going to jail for misinforming Congress, for perjuring myself in front of Congress. I'm going to tell them exactly what I know, and I'm going to tell them right now. And that's the only thing he could have done. And frankly, if Democrats had said, look, this is routine, this is something that he promised he would do, he's doing it, nothing's going to be uncovered here, this is all a bunch of smoke, it would have probably not been as big a deal as it is when the Democrats said, look, he's undermining democracy and destroying his reputation and he needs to resign immediately.
Yeah, no, I mean, frankly, my opinion on this is that we've been living with these mysterious content for 20 months now. I actually don't know, Brent, that this is going to have any impact. In fact, I was reading an article today that suggested most people are pretty much shrugging their shoulders and going on about their business. So it will be interesting to see, although we do see a tightening in the polls. I want to move on. Donald Trump's spending $25 million in the Democratic-leaning battleground states heading into the final week. Some of those states include Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Virginia. Is there any hope that this is going to push Trump ahead in the opinion of y'all? Brett, what do you think?
Well, I would be surprised in most Democratic-leaning states. I do think there are states like Ohio, and North Carolina and others, Wisconsin comes to mind, where it is in play. I mean, I have been arguing publicly, privately, every which way, and on Newsmax TV, that Democrats for a long time have been much too overconfident. I have taken that position ad infinitum and very loudly really in the last 6 weeks. Now, that's not new to me. So it does expect to be tight. I think it's going to be closer than anybody said. I don't think Republicans should overestimate how much Trump is surging. I don't think Democrats should underestimate the risk. I think you always run as though you're 5 or 10 points behind, no matter what the polls show.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, and I'm not going to agree with this poll, but there's a poll that just came out. The full poll is about to be released soon, that in Florida, according to one poll, a new poll, of the early voting that identified themselves as Republicans, 28%, according to this poll, actually voted for Hillary. Now, I am not saying that's a good number or a bad number. I have no way to evaluate it. But I think everybody should run as though they're losing. I think almost anything is still in play. Yeah. Obviously, I can give you a poll recently that shows Hillary up 6 or 7. You can give me a poll recently that shows Donald up 6 or 7. Somebody's very wrong, but we don't know who. So I just kind of ignore that, and you run to the goal line. Now, by the way, I did not call on Comey to resign. I didn't say any of that draconian language. What I did say is I thought it was grossly unfair and unprecedented and wrong. And I also said, to keep this brief, I think he was really reacting to fear of the right in Congress that would attack him. And I don't think any FBI director should react that way. He had no information to tell us.
No, he did. He had 650,000 emails. No, we don't know the impact of the information he had to say, Brent. But there was 650,000 emails.
No, and he should have waited until he had some idea what he was talking about.
Well,
That's
I don't
the
know.
point
I want to go to Noah's point. If in fact he hadn't informed Congress, and in fact 2 months from now she was indicted, what in the world is anybody going to say about that FBI director Comey then? I think he's in a very bad situation, and I think probably he acted appropriately. We got to take a quick break here, but Noah and Brent, stay where you are. When we come back, we'll talk some more about the left's attack on James Comey, and we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 877 Newsmax. Obamacare, don't forget that either. We'll be right back. Keep it here.